that first house. That very first house is the setup for your wealth building if you do it right.
Moving forward with the Dekker Team. Moving forward together with the Dekker Team.
Welcome to another episode of Life's Inside Track. I'm Yetta Dekker.
And I'm Ken Dekker. And we have Suzan Hart with us again.
And again, because she keeps drawing out questions that are going to give you the thoughts, the techniques, the tactics, and the tools, and even some tips that we all need, we all deserve. You, I, everyone, so we can turn our house into home, our families thrive, and we get to build wealth wisely through real estate. Questions.
Okay, Suzanne, bring it on. Bring it on.
And more questions.
Go.
So I want to focus on building wealth wisely. I love that saying. And first house. Most people, I don't believe, look at their first house as their first investment property.
Right.
However, when I sat down with you, that's how you framed it for me. And everything changed. So why do you consider it your first home, your first purchase, no matter big, small, whatever, your first investment property?
Because if you do it right, like I said at the top of the episode, if you do it right, that foundational seed money, we'll call it the down payment, the deposit, that money that you invest in that first house. If you do it right over time and make good decisions along the way, it becomes the setup for the second house.
So let's talk about what it takes to do it right.
Well, I think there's multiple things for different people, right? Different strokes for different folks. If you are okay with living in a duplex or a triplex and living in a small apartment in one of them and renting out the other two, that's great.
That's an amazing first step. I mean, we've got clients that do that, and they move quicker, further, faster.
Mm-hmm. I wish someone had told me that step when I started.
Yeah.
Well, because it's not for everybody. If you have 3 kids already, that might not be a good fit, right? For our son, it was living in a furnace room.
And renting out all the other rooms in the house.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was a college student doing a secondary education. And he said, I either have to live at home and I don't really want to live with them folks no more, or I got to pay rent somewhere, or I can buy my first house. I can sleep in my own room, even though it is the furnace room. It was quite a good size, and rent out the rest of it. And the other students pay me to live in my house.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That might be the way to start if you can start early enough. I mean, in that case, you need some allies on the journey because we did co-sign. He saved the down payment, did summer jobs, saved enough down payment. So we didn't give him the money, honey, but we did give him our credit worthiness.
Okay.
So sometimes it means getting support on the journey. Other times it just means saving really, really hard and sacrificing on the front end so that you have that seed money for the first one.
Okay.
And then the discipline.
Yeah. Sometimes, we're working with a young lady right now, and she's had a roommate helping her pay her rent on her where she's renting. And that roommate's coming with her to help pay on a room basis to help her with the mortgage on the new property she's going to buy. So sometimes there's some sacrifices that are done. Other times it's, do I buy a property that would be good for renting out later when I can afford to buy closer to what my dream home is? Or do I know I've got to sell that one and buy another one? So those are the kind of things that we take into consideration when people are looking for their first home. And I truly believe, like you said, that building wealth through your first home, even if you don't leverage it and get another one, it's one step to building a wealthy life.
So do you actually, when someone comes, do you actually sit down and have this type of conversation? Because no one had that conversation with me, which I so appreciated. So do you do this with people as they come and say, I want to buy my first home? Do you put all those options on the table?
We have a dialogue about how far can they see their vision right now.
Tell me more.
So each person has an idea of what they can see.
Yeah.
And they can only see what they can see right now. So we will plant a few seeds. Some people we can sit down and like go through why do you even want to do this? And they move very quickly from, I was going to buy a single family home to, I think I'm going to buy a duplex and I think we can do this first. So it depends on it's not a one size fits all.
But
those one size fits all dresses are a lie.
That is so true.
And
we bought a few.
I bought a few. They don't fit the same.
So when you say you plant the seed, you're giving them, you're painting possibilities as to what could happen.
Right.
Yeah. And sometimes a client will come to us. I remember a young couple, they were just getting married and he was gung-ho. He was going to own multiple properties. And his first property, he wanted one that he could convert the basement into an apartment, rent that out, and then eventually rent the upstairs and go buy another property. And he did that. But that was his goal. We helped facilitate it, right?
But it was after he read our book too. He actually read the wealth formula, which gave them the seed. And, we've talked in other segments, don't leave anybody behind. So I spent a lot more time with her than I did with him because she wanted to do what her husband wanted to do, but was afraid to do what her husband wanted to do. So we had dialogues about, well, why would it be important to her? And she talked all about family and having a safe place for her kids and didn't have kids yet, and not having to worry about the money and being able to stay home if she wanted to and all those things. So we were able to find out her deeper why, which then made the investing in real estate palatable. Right? So it's questions. Like it's just like you're asking us questions. It's questions. I don't want it to ever feel interrogative. Right? It's to slow it down sometimes, move at a pace that makes sense. Sometimes we can introduce more than we can other times. Having somebody read a book like The Wealth Formula has been really smart because then they can go away, read that, get some of their own ideas, and now they're doing some of the brainstorming and the dreaming rather than us pushing it.
Yeah, and you know what our listener might be saying? Where do I get that Wealth Formula book? And who wrote it? Well, Ken and Yetta wrote it. It's under my name, but behind every successful man
is a woman that made it necessary.
I wasn't going to say that, but thank you.
That's what you were thinking.
So you can pick up a copy at our office at 5 Corvus Court, or you can order it on Amazon. It'll be a little cheaper if you buy it at our office.
And if I can chime in about the beauty of this book, is that it's almost like a paint by number process from upside down, if possibly, to getting yourself right side up and ready to invest. For me, it was a book of checklists. I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. So I highly recommend it.
And then you use the second half or the last quarter to really give you the steps into then actually building wealth.
Yeah, we basically wrote the book that we needed. So if we'd had it 10 years earlier, it would have been a lot easier for us. So we're glad that we get to position you to build wealth wisely. Because as I said, it's about much more than money. It's about how do I do it so that I have harmony in my life, my health is there, my relationships are good, and the money is the vehicle to help me move forward.
Moving forward with the Dekker Team. Moving forward together.